protests are all based on sound, revolution songs, using even pots and pans in protests. Like you don't even use your voice, but you use these tools. We can close our eyes, but we can't close our ears. And with sound, I think it's easier to, in today's time, to use that as a tool for acquiring justice. My name is Safeya Alblooshi. I'm a sound artist and researcher at the Music and Sound Cultures Research Group here at NYU Abu Dhabi, which is where we're currently at. This is where I work. Usually I come here every morning. Either it's for research work or for documenting kind of traditional music in the region.
Sinasabi ko yung Ramadan.
So I grew up playing the piano. When I was young, I went to music school. I did the certifications. So there's a lot of like Mozart, Chopin, Tchaikovsky. And then I think my mother as well, because she's Russian, there's a lot of like Russian music playing in the background. I used to listen to this one band obsessively, and I always thought they're never gonna perform in the UAE, but they're actually coming in January for the first time in Asia, and it's Green. And so yeah, a lot of Green Day and Blink 182, kind of a bit of punk. That was like my big guilty pleasure. But my first kind of notable moment with sound was when I was in like middle school, I think, or early high school. I tuned into the Abu Dhabi Classic FM on my like dial-up radio and my earphones, and I came across that channel by accident, and I was listening to some soundscape kind of track, and I didn't know what it was. And later I learned through tuning into the same kind of number that they just past midnight, they had this like playlist of these interesting sounds, so that was a core memory. So when I went to university, I started taking courses in ethnomusicology, and that's because I was interested to study music from the region. And then I took a course on music programming, and that's when I learned how to compose music in non-linear ways than what I was initially thought to. And since then, I've been experimenting with different forms of sound composition, and now I've gone 360, kind of I incorporate both into my practice, the kind of ethnomusicological research and the artistic practice. I think the hardest part is always starting, and what I do to help is create a list of sounds that I know I will incorporate in my work, and then just go from there. The different Emirates are very unique in their soundscapes. Most of my work is based in Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and Ras Al Khaimah, which is where I'm from. In Dubai, for example, you have a city that is connected by 3 main roads. In Abu Dhabi, you have a more kind of sustainable kind of urban development, and you have Al Ain and like the different towns. In Ras Al Khaimah, you have the city, but the mountainous areas, you have a different language spoken that we don't understand. in the south, and I think based on the natural kind of elements and the urban structure, that's what kind of differs each emirate. The language is spoken and the people that populate it, but I don't think I have a favorite just because they're all so unique, and I'm still trying to explore that in my practice. When you walk around the city and you pass by a fountain or any sort of underwater sounds, you never know what is happening down there. So I've heard some very interesting noises, even just bubbles coming out. But also when you walk around the city and you can sometimes intercept electromagnetic fields and you can hear these interesting sounds that is otherwise inaudible to the human ear. I think that there's a lot of sounds that I think is beyond our listening abilities and recording abilities, but fill up a big part of the audio spectrum. And I think it's great that we don't, because we're already sensitive in what we can hear. You know, we can close our eyes, but we can't close our ears. And it reminds me also of this naturalist Bernie Krause. In the intro to this book, Metaphonics, he created a taxonomy of how you can classify sounds into geophony, which is earth sounds, biophony, biological kind of animal sounds, anthropophony, human-caused sounds, and cosmopophony, which is outer space sounds. And I think the first three categories, the sounds are becoming less and less isolated and more married. So you can be in the middle of an arid area or a forested area, and you can still hear a plane overhead. And I think the importance is that you capture that in its true authentic way. So you're not always trying to use certain softwares to clean and beautify a sound just because you want it to sound perfect. I was actually reading a book recently, like a few days ago. It's a travel writing book about how someone wanted to go to the jungle to look at endangered gorillas in the Congo. And the person who's responsible for the area and preserving these gorillas said that these people are more interested and obsessed with seeing the gorilla rather than the habitat that they live in. And I was like, you know what, I'd be curious to explore sonically that habitat without actually kind of relying on visual cues. So maybe like some sort of jungle or rainforest. But in contrast, also maybe going to Svalbard, somewhere that's more discreet and within the Arctic Circle, very kind of contrasting. In a generation of perhaps where our parents are always watching TV on 24/7, that's my case. Perhaps the generation coming after wants to be in a more kind of quieter environment. At least that's the case with me. And so you learn to either block off that kind of these sonic artifacts or tune into it. And I think the best practice would be to try to contain yourself in more controlled or more controlled sonic environments where you can learn how to listen more attentively.
There's also soul chart music in there. I don't know if you guys know what they use. It's like this filmmaker music guy. Pretty good
I'm
guy.
thinking about environmental sound artists who are at the forefront of using climate change and try to represent that sonically through sonification methods, but even through installations. I remember taking this course on the Arab Spring, and a lot of this idea of giving voice to the people, right? Protests are all based on sound, revolution songs, using even pots and pans in protests. Like you don't even use your voice, but you use these tools. And I think also the work of Lawrence Abu Hamdan, who's based in Dubai, is very inspiring. He's an artist and a private ear, as he calls himself, and he uses sonic investigations and evidence to help people when it comes to climate injustice, kind of political injustice, and these are great examples because visual things, especially with AI, you can really change that. But with sound, I think it's easier to, in today's time, to use that as a tool for acquiring justice. What could possibly happen is that we have more AI-driven music, so it will be personally tailored to the person's wish at any moment. So it will be that advanced. I also think that perhaps there'll be certain places that will die out in 100 years, and so we'll have certain sounds that people will want to refer to that they can no longer access, or sounds that are beyond our reach. So maybe we'll have sounds of space that we can listen to. You know how we have like post-rock, post this, and I think we'll have a new genre emerging. I'm not sure what it will be, but maybe, you know, post-human, post-earth, post-something that we don't quite know what it is, but something along those lines. Listening will no longer just be listening to music, but it'll be an embodied experience, a multi-sensorial experience. It's something that will not only incorporate the ears, but kind of maybe even smell and touch. So I envision that happening. And I feel like even things like, for example, soundproofing homes, I think there will be highly developed. I also envision things like personal sound memories, like sound banks that we can access and record.